Everything appeared normal when the triplets showed up. Their complexion was a vibrant shade of pink when they were nestled on their mother's chest. But then something strange happened, the moment the infant on the right opened her eyes. The doctor saw something really remarkable. As if on a mission. The medical staff rushed out of the room. Mindy and David had endured many ups and downs on their lengthy road to parenting. At 33 years old, Mindy could feel the hands of time slipping away from her aspirations of becoming a mother. Exuberance washed over them as the pregnancy test showed a positive result. "We're finally getting our precious baby," David shouted. His voice filled with pure pleasure. When they both broke down in tears. Unfortunately, some unexpected news came up during the first ultrasound, dampening their delight. They stared in a mixture of anxiety and anticipation as the doctor ran the ultrasound probe over Mindy's bloated belly. The news was shocking: triplets. "Congratulations, you're carrying triplets," the doctor said with a hint of caution. Waiting for their reply, Mindy and David's reaction was utter joy, which caught the doctor off guard. Though they were on the verge of jumping for excitement, Mindy's remaining echo gel and tangled cords made it difficult for them to fully embrace. "That's incredible," with an enthusiastic cry, David proclaimed. The sight of 3 little hearts beating on the screen was so wonderful that it brought tears to their eyes. Forever changing their path to motherhood. Their aspirations of a large family, which had before been unattainable, were now considered to be within reach. Over the next months, Mindy and David kept a close eye on the triplets, fully aware of the difficulties that could develop. Still, time seemed to be going according to plan until the much-anticipated delivery day showed up out of the blue. The rapid growth of Mindy's 3 kids, who are all excitedly anticipating their arrival, was evident in the exponential expansion of her abdomen during the 9 months of pregnancy. Not only were Mindy's triplets female, but they were also identical, a phenomenon that baffled even the doctors monitoring her condition. Despite her delight, Mindy found the physical strain increasingly hard as her due date approached. She longed for the day her tiny ones would finally join the world. When her water broke and contractions began in earnest, signaling the imminent arrival of her daughters, the rush to the hospital commenced. David, initially cautious behind the wheel, soon found himself navigating a tumultuous mix of emotions when Mindy's cries intensified with each passing contraction, the intervals between them rapidly diminishing. Feeling the urgency of the moment, David pressed down on the gas pedal with determination. His only concern now to get Mindy to the hospital without any unwanted encounters with law enforcement. Mindy's cries of pain filled the car, a constant reminder of the impending arrival of their daughters. Maybe everything just moves faster with triplets, David thought, his focus solely on reaching the hospital as quickly as possible. Despite David's frantic driving, the journey felt interminable to both him and Mindy. Yet, they arrived at the hospital in record time, a relief washing over them as they entered the sanctuary of the delivery room. The doctors, upon their arrival, confirmed that any delay could have resulted in an impromptu car birth. The delivery room buzzed with anticipation as a team of medical professionals stood ready to assist. The natural birth of triplets remained a rare occurrence, fraught with potential complications, necessitating the presence of numerous doctors and nurses to ensure a safe delivery. "Push now," commanded the lead doctor, his tone firm as Mindy summoned her strength for the task ahead. With a resounding cry and a final breath, Mindy welcomed her first baby girl into the world. The sight of her daughter, healthy and crying, brought tears of joy to Mindy's eyes when she cradled her newborn against her chest. However, there was little time for celebration as the arrival of baby number 2 loomed, with a third not far behind. Mindy's journey to motherhood had just begun, each precious moment filled with anticipation and love when she prepared to welcome her remaining daughters into the world. The impending arrival of their third daughter added an extra layer of anticipation to the already charged atmosphere of the delivery room. This baby, in particular, held a special aura, leaving even the most seasoned doctors with a sense of wonder and uncertainty. As Mindy felt the next contraction building, signaling the arrival of her second child, she braced herself for the swift entrance. True to her intuition, the second baby seemed eager to join her sisters, requiring little effort from Mindy before she was cradling yet another beautiful daughter against her chest. This baby, though quieter than her sisters, still possessed the same undeniable beauty that marked her as one of the trio. "They already look alike," remarked a nurse softly, drawing attention to the familial resemblance. With barely a moment to catch their breath, the baby was gently passed to David, who carefully placed her in a cot beside her sister. Mindy's attention quickly shifted as the next contraction signaled the imminent arrival of their third daughter. The journey from home to hospital had been a whirlwind of activity. From initial cramps to a frantic car ride, culminating in the rapid delivery of their triplets. Despite the exhaustion weighing heavily on them, the moment of their third daughter's birth brought immeasurable joy and relief to Mindy and David. When they beheld their newborn, healthy and whole, any lingering doubts or fears dissolved, replaced by overwhelming gratitude and love for their growing family. It was finally time for a break. The weight of the world had lifted, and both parents could breathe freely. They exchanged a loving glance, relief evident in their eyes. Unbeknownst to them, their youngest daughter was unlike any other. She possessed a uniqueness that had baffled even the hospital staff. When Mindy and David cradled their three daughters, exhaustion mingled with awe. Amidst the chaos, they found a moment to cherish their growing family. Mindy, in her haste, had only brought one bow, meant to keep the girls distinct. David chuckled as he recounted the oversight to the nurses. Their babies, serene in slumber, held promises of joy and surprises. Little did they know, the greatest surprise was yet to come. As Amber and Laura stirred, their newborn sister lay peacefully between them. In a tender moment captured forever, Laura instinctively embraced her sibling. With sleepy eyes, the newborn surveyed the world for the first time, revealing pairs of bright green and blue eyes. Mindy's heart swelled with pride as she whispered, "What beautiful eyes!" But it was the third baby, Nain, who unexpectedly made her parents shiver. When the physicians got back to their office, they saw that Mindy and David weren't holding their kids anymore. The doctor suggested transporting the babies to the hospital for additional testing after sensing their fear. Nain slept soundly through the entire ordeal, but Amber and Laura watched the doctor with interest. She woke up from her nap after receiving a light pat on the head, and she gently opened her eyes. However, the subsequent events shocked everyone. Like her sisters, Nain's eyes first revealed their stunning beauty to the world. The parents were caught unawares. Nevertheless, by the doctor's response, he retreated a step, his face betraying his perplexion. When he scribbled notes on his pad, he whispered, "This is really strange." As the doctor's words began to sink in, Mindy and David exchanged anxious looks. The doctor distracted himself from the infants and began to measure and test Mindy in an unusual method. Perplexed, Mindy attempted to make sense of the abrupt change in point of view. "An earnest, are you feeling well?" was the doctor's question. Even though she was nervous about the circumstance, Mindy reassured him. Her voice quivered as she inquired, "Is my daughter sick?" His mysterious actions simply served to heighten their worry. Despite the doctor's best efforts to assuage her fears, the doctor needed to dig deeper into what appeared to be a regular check. After he left the room, he extended an invitation to David to come with him to another room just down the hall. David sat down as soon as they stepped inside, and the doctor leaned out the window, clearly lost in contemplation. While taking off his spectacles, the doctor started. "I must admit, In my 40 years here, I've never encountered anything quite like this. David felt his composure crumble when he attempted to keep his cool in front of his wife. He felt a queasy sensation in his knees and a shakiness in his hands and palms. Seeking clarity, David pressed the doctor for answers. The doctor, now standing beside David, shared his findings from the notepad. He apologized for his earlier secrecy, admitting this situation was as new to him as it was to David. Deliveries were simple according to the hospital's standard procedure. There was a difference, though. But David had nothing to worry about. The doctor had informed him that his 3 daughters were okay. He stressed that there was no need for concern. Nain appeared to captivate the doctor's attention, which left David perplexed and asking why. According to his question, what makes her so special? Aware of her growing isolation, Mindy waited nervously in her hospital room, assuring her that her girls were fine. The attending personnel made an effort to ease her anxiety. She remained uneasy, though, because her husband and the doctor were having their own chat. Whose business is it to keep things under wraps? Why was I gone for such a long time? As time went on, Mindy's anxiety intensified. Mindy's tolerance was wearing thin when the doctor and David returned to the room. All right, David, say it, she insisted. Nain, is everything okay? Exclaiming with a hint of annoyance, she demanded explanations. Feeling her anxiety, David smiled reassuringly and then turned to Nain, cooing gently. It's all right, my love. According to the doctor, Nain is 1 in 2 billion, which he reassured Mindy was just a little fraction of that. The doctor understood Mindy's concerns and expressed his remorse for keeping things under wraps while explaining his cautious approach. He understood that any unexpected news, positive or negative, could be too much for a new mother to handle. Therefore, he wanted to make sure of a few things before disclosing anything further. The more the doctor hinted at what he was going to disclose, the more Mindy's interest was aroused. He went into detail about how rare triplets are, especially identical ones, and how Nain's eyes were the thing that set her apart. While it was possible for identical triplets to have minor variances, Nain's eyes stood out. Everything about the kids stayed the same, down to their hair color, eye color, nose shape, and every other facial trait. However, even the most seasoned observers were taken aback by Nain's unusually deep brown eyes, in contrast to Amber and Laura's dazzling green-blue eyes. Unbeknownst to the doctor, this mutation actually enhanced Nain's extraordinary qualities rather than diminishing them. The precious photo captures Mindy, David, and their cousin's joyful embrace of all 3 infants. A fleeting moment that has passed since then, 6 years ago. If you're curious, you might ask yourself how you look right now. Nain had her own unique charm thanks to her darker hair and touch of red. Yet Amber and Laura were clearly sisters with nearly identical looks. The one constant, though, was the adoration and affection that her parents felt for her every day because of her beautiful brown eyes. Nain may have been unique, but their love for their 3 girls was constant. According to Mindy, we love all 3 of our beautiful ladies equally, for the full 1000%. After watching the first story above, do you have any thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, let's watch another similar story. A set of twins, each adorned with a distinct palette of colors, entered the world amidst the struggles of a family who, overwhelmed, chose to discard them. Yet, fortune smiled upon them as a vigilant nurse spotted the abandoned newborns and took action. In the bustling Kilshaw household, anticipation filled the air. Balloons adorned the space. A cake baked to perfection, and fresh juices awaited consumption. Judith, the matriarch, orchestrated an exceptional meal. marking a milestone that had profoundly altered their lives just 5 weeks prior. The arrival of twin girls, Belinda and Kimberly, had transformed their once quiet existence into a whirlwind of joy and activity. The Kilshaw family, residing in a spacious 7-bedroom duplex, spared no expense in ensuring the twins' comfort. Sharing a lavishly decorated room, the girls reveled in hues of pink and lavender, surrounded by luxury fit for royalty. When the family gathered around the dining table, laughter and conversation flowed freely, celebrating the newfound brightness that the twins had brought into their lives. They toasted to the 1-month anniversary of the twins' arrival, envisioning decades of future celebrations. However, their merriment was interrupted by a knock at the door, casting matching frowns upon Judith and her husband, Alan. Unexpected visitors arrived at the Kilshaw residence, leaving Judith puzzled and apprehensive. 2 impeccably dressed individuals, a man and a woman, stood before her, their polite smiles masking the gravity of their purpose. Without preamble, they identified themselves as representatives from social services, plunging Judith into a whirlwind of confusion. Initially, Judith's mind wandered to her work at the hospital, where abandoned babies awaited placement in loving homes. Yet, she couldn't fathom why social services had chosen her home for what seemed like routine questioning. Politely, Judith explained that their timing clashed with a special family celebration, hesitating to invite them in. Perplexed, the social workers soon clarified their true intention. They were there for Belinda and Kimberly, the twin girls Judith had come to adore. Shock rippled through Judith as she learned of the girls' illegal adoption and the murky circumstances surrounding their arrival into her life. Judith's journey to motherhood had begun with a heartfelt longing for children like Belinda and Kimberly. Discovering them online had felt like a stroke of luck, a chance to fulfill her dreams of parenthood. However, the revelation that she had unknowingly participated in a deceitful adoption scheme shook her to the core. The intricate web of deception traced back to the twins' birth mother, Tra, a woman grappling with financial hardship and the weight of motherhood. Tra's desperate decision to relinquish Belinda and Kimberly set off a chain of events orchestrated by an unscrupulous adoption broker, exploiting the vulnerability of a mother and the innocence of her children for profit. When Judith grappled with the shocking truth, the future of Belinda and Kimberly hung in the balance, caught amidst a complex legal and ethical dilemma, leaving Judith and her family confronting the harsh reality of a system that failed to protect the most vulnerable. Judith couldn't shake the discomfort brought by Belinda and Kimberly's stark difference in skin color, a contrast that seemed to draw unwanted attention to her own desire for anonymity. However, Tra, the twins' birth mother, had astutely recognized the fascination people held for them and seized upon it, offering the girls up for adoption online when they were just 4 months old. Richard and Vicky Allen, residing in San Bernardino, California, had been captivated by the twins and readily agreed to adopt them. Little did they know, Tra's tears and pleas for one last outing with her children were nothing but a facade. After a deceitful farewell stroll, Tra vanished, leaving the Allens waiting in vain. Unbeknownst to the Allens, Tra had swiftly sold the twins to the Kilshaws for double the amount, prompting Judith and Alan to embark on a transatlantic journey to retrieve the girls. The anticipation and anxiety gripped Judith throughout the flight, but seeing the twins' cherubic faces in person erased any doubts she harbored about the legitimacy of the adoption. In the month since their arrival, Judith's dedication to her newfound role as a mother had been unwavering. Every decision she made revolved around providing the best life for Belinda and Kimberly. From her meticulous fitness regimen to her dietary choices, they had become the center of her world, and she couldn't fathom letting them go without a fight. When social services threatened to tear her family apart, Judith stood firm in her resolve. Belinda and Kimberly weren't just names on paperwork, they were her daughters, and the Kilshaw household was their home. She refused to relinquish them. ready to battle whatever obstacles stood in the way of their happiness and security. Taking Belinda and Kimberly away would only introduce further instability into their lives. Judith argued passionately with the social workers. As a dedicated nurse, recognized for her unwavering commitment, she believed she was the best possible mother for the twins. However, her emotional plea fell on deaf ears as the social workers perceived her determination as irrationality, prompting Alan to join her in a futile attempt to reason with her. Anticipating resistance, the social workers had arrived accompanied by law enforcement, ready to enforce their decision. Judith's steadfast refusal to comply led to a dramatic confrontation, resulting in her arrest and the temporary removal of the twins from her care. As news of the situation spread like wildfire across social media, public opinion divided sharply. Some sympathized with the Killshaws, understanding their desperation to expand their family through unconventional means. They saw a couple who genuinely wanted to provide love and care to children in need, rather than exploit them for personal gain. Conversely, critics condemned the Killshaws for their involvement in what appeared to be a shady adoption scheme. They questioned why the couple hadn't reported the suspicious activities of the adoption broker and accused them of perpetuating child trafficking for their own selfish ends. Upon returning home from the police station, the Killshaws were met with a peaceful protest on their doorstep, symbolizing the intense scrutiny and moral ambiguity surrounding their actions. Reporters swarmed around them, demanding answers. As the couple grappled with the consequences of their decisions in the harsh glare of public scrutiny, they found themselves engulfed. Camera flashes blinding, a cacophony of voices bombarding them with a barrage of questions. Alan, stone-faced, offered no words, his thoughts veiled in secrecy. Judith, however, crumbled when she stood at their doorstep, her shoulders heaving with uncontrollable sobs. The crowd granted her a moment to collect herself. And then she spoke, her voice trembling with emotion. I am aware that many of you have ideas about me, but those opinions are completely unimportant. Discovering where my twin girls are located is the only thing that is important to me in this life. They belong to me, regardless of what anybody else may say. And I will do all in my power to win them back. Her resolve was unwavering even in the face of hopelessness, and tears were streaming down her face all the while. This day, what had started off with such happiness had transformed into a profound sense of grief. The Allens, the couple who had acquired the twins for a substantial amount of money, shared Judith's determination. Judith was not the only person who was determined at the time. The twins, who were taken away from their legitimate families, sparked a contentious custody battle that won the support of the general public. The family's battle for custody carried on for months, causing the Killshaws' resources to be depleted to the point of bankruptcy. They were invited onto several venues to express their frustrations, including the well-known Oprah Winfrey Show. As the issues surrounding the sale of the twins continued to rise, it attracted the attention of the Federal Bureau of Investigation in the United States and prompted the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom to make a commitment to prohibit the sale of newborns and toddlers. In the days leading up to the final hearing, Judith discovered that she was unable to stand due to the fever she was experiencing. Although Alan pleaded with her to remain at home, she declined his request since she believed that this day was too important to miss. While she was at the courthouse, Judith hid her anxiousness beneath a facade of stoicism in order to prepare herself for the crucial moment that was about to present itself. Judith struggled to conceal the inner agony that she was experiencing while simultaneously battling the mounting anxiety that the judgment would not be in her favor. She told herself over and over again that she was deserving of her girls and that they were legitimately hers without question. At the end of the day, she had given up everything, including the possibility of going bankrupt, in order to bring them into her life. Judith's entire world came crashing down when the judge's decision was announced and it echoed across the courtroom. Her aspirations were dashed as she listened to the judge's words, which reverberated in her ears. Because of the unlawful means of acquisition. Neither the Killshaws nor the Allens would be granted custody of their children. Their adoptions would be considered invalid and unenforceable. As the realization dawned on Judith, time seemed to stand still. And she was left in a state of oblivion. She was unable to feel connected to her body when she stood up to protest. And the words that came out of her mouth were a jumbled mess. After that, all of a sudden, her legs gave way beneath her, which caused her to fall to the ground unexpectedly. After being rushed to the hospital, Judith spent several days recuperating from the mental and physical toll that the shock had taken on her. While this was going on, the twins were taken away from Britain and sent back to the United States, where adoption agencies would help them find families who were a good fit for them. In spite of the fact that she had made a full recovery, Judith's heart continued to hurt for her missed daughters. As a means of coping with the tremendous sadness, Judith turned to social media and created a page on which she would dedicate herself to her cherished daughters. She poured her heart out in each post, remembering about the first time they met, the happiness they caused her, and the connection they enjoyed with one another. The page was covered with photographs of the twins, which served as a bittersweet memory of the time that they had spent together. While Judith was experiencing her yearning, she was subjected to a bombardment of cruel comments from people she did not know online. These comments served as a daily reminder of the misery she was experiencing. Unknown individuals condemned Judith for not following legal adoption procedures instead of resorting to illicit ways, which led to an increase in the level of hostility emanating from the internet. Due to the fact that the hatred had reached an intolerable level, Judith published one last post before completely withdrawing from the digital world. There was no comment accompanying the picture, which was a terrible image of her crying. The unexpected absence of Judith gave rise to a great deal of discussion. Others claimed that she was terminated from her nursing job because of her perceived instability, while others believed that she had given up on her nursing career. There were rumors going about that she would be moving to a different nation or withdrawing to a more peaceful lifestyle in the countryside. No matter what happened, the fate of Judith remained a mystery to everyone. In the meantime, the twins were able to return to their native state with the assistance of social services, which was responsible for facilitating their placement with new adoptive individuals. Their new father was immediately enamored with them, and he felt a tremendous feeling of responsibility toward them. Despite the initial happiness, the public's reaction to their adoption was comprised of a range of feelings. Despite the fact that some people thought it was a satisfactory outcome, others questioned the reason why the girls' former adoptive parents were not given the opportunity to formally adopt them. The newly adopted parents were met with criticism from individuals who held the belief that the twins ought to have been returned to their biological mother or that they ought to have been adopted formally by one of the families who had adopted them previously. On the other hand, they insisted that the decision was not within their control because social services was focused on providing the girls with a new beginning. All throughout their childhood, the twins were protected from the scandal that had surrounding their formative years. They were able to flourish under the affection and direction of their adoptive parents. Despite the difficulties that came with being multiracial twins, their parents, in a caring manner, disclosed the truth of their adoption to them when they were older, telling them that it did not alter their identity or the love that they had received. The girls were thankful for the opportunity to start over, and they jumped into life with excitement. They were successful in both their studies and in athletics, and they found satisfaction in hobbies such as basketball and lacrosse. Through participation in the school band, they were able to cultivate friendships that would last a lifetime and enrich their social lives. Their enthusiasm for music continued well beyond their time in high school, and it was this drive that led them to become members of another band when they set out on a path towards self-discovery and fulfillment. While the twins were beginning their journey through college, a friend of theirs who had a common interest came across the social media website that Judith had established in their honor many years earlier. The outpouring of affection left the girls feeling moved, and they couldn't help but wonder about Judith's health and how she was doing since they were so moved by it. In their efforts to get back in touch with her, they discovered a way to get in touch with her, which resulted in months of sincere correspondence. In the end, the girls came to the conclusion that they would pay Judith a visit as a surprise. When they arrived at her doorstep, they were greeted by an elderly but still dazzling Judith, whose love for them was obvious in every embrace and tear that she shed. Judith, who was overcome with emotion, admitted that she was surprised by the extent of her attachment in spite of the fact that she was unaware that she still had so much love in her heart. Judith had discovered happiness in her life, despite the fact that she had divorced Alan many years before. She was surrounded by grown children who came to see her on a regular basis. In an effort to form a connection with the girls, Judith insisted on preparing their preferred supper and enthralled them with laughter. As a result, she had a sense of buoyancy that she hadn't experienced in many years. Judith expressed her gratitude for their presence by expressing her gratitude excessively, her excitement obvious in every word she said. Reuniting with each other was a satisfying experience for the twins. They discovered a sense of belonging and a strong reminder of the eternal power of love when they were in the presence of Judith. After taking some time to reflect on their trip, they came to the realization that love is limitless, and that the links that are formed by the heart are more powerful than any legal decision. As they went their separate ways, Judith and the twins carried the warmth of their reunion with them in their hearts. This served as a reminder of the ageless truth that love is not bound by conditions such as time, distance, or situation. In addition, when they contemplated the future, they were aware that regardless of the path that life would take them, they would always treasure the connection that they had with one another. After watching the stories above, do you have any thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. If you enjoyed our video, please like, subscribe, and share our channel. That's all about today's stories. See you next time.